So let me ask you this. When you first saw that thing crawling across the walls in the Alien Earth finale, did your brain immediately go, wait, wasn't that the innocent little plant from episode 2? Or did you, like me, lean back and think, oh no, they've been hiding this one on purpose? Because I swear, when that leafy creeper finally made its move, I felt like the show had been baiting us all along. And tell me I'm wrong here, because didn't we all kind of forget about the D? Plumbicare after the first half of the season? It was just there, quiet, dormant, looking like a failed lab experiment sitting in a corner while the xenomorphs and the eyeball parasite were hogging the spotlight. But here's the thing, what if that silence, that dormancy wasn't weakness at all? What if it was the most dangerous camouflage of all? See, that's the problem with this show. It makes you think every loose thread is just window dressing. And then, boom, by the finale, you're getting jump scared by a plant. A plant that doesn't just exist, doesn't breathe, but hunts. Stalking across walls like it's rehearsed this moment since episode 2. And let's be honest, Siberian's death wasn't just brutal, it was humiliating. Imagine thinking you've secured the lab, you've locked down every nightmare in a jar, and then a giant leafy stalk brushes your shoulder like, hey buddy, dinner time. That's not just horror, that's cosmic irony. But here's where I get stuck. Why now? Why wait until the finale to show its hand? Was the D Plumbicare really hiding its true nature? Or was someone, maybe Prodigy itself, keeping it sedated? And if it was asleep for most of the show, who or what woke it up? That's what keeps looping in my head. Because the second this thing comes to life, the show basically tells us every single species you've seen so far is a misdirection. The xenomorphs, sure, they're terrifying, but they're predictable. The eyeball parasite, weird, but it plays by its own rules. Even Wendy's hybrid storyline, we knew it was building to something big. But the plant, nobody expected the plant. And isn't that exactly why it works? Now, let me drop a theory on you, one that's been haunting me ever since I rewatched the finale. What if the D Plumbicare isn't just another alien species? What if it's the prototype, the real experiment before the hybrids, before the T Ocellus, before the acid beetles? What if Prodigy didn't just stumble across it, but created it? And the fact that it's half plant, half predator isn't a coincidence. It's a design. Sounds insane, right? But then again, doesn't everything about Alien Earth feel like forbidden knowledge you weren't supposed to learn? Like the kind of thing Ridley Scott whispers in your ear while you're sleeping. And here's the other part that keeps nagging at me. The way it killed. Not messy, not chaotic, not like the xenomorph tearing through soldiers. No, the D Plumbicare was quiet, efficient, almost playful. It toyed with Siberian before it consumed her, like a cat with a mouse. And tell me that's not scarier, because a monster that knows it has time, that's the real nightmare fuel. But maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's just another creature of the weak design thrown in to spice up the finale. Or maybe, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it's the seed, pun intended, of season 2's big bad. Think about it. The finale framed the hybrids as the heroes of their own story, reclaiming power. But what if the real monsters, the ones we haven't even scratched the surface of yet, are the ones pretending to be harmless? Let me throw this back to you. What's scarier, the xenomorph we know with all its claws and acid, or the plant monster we underestimated until it had us cornered? Drop your take in the comments, because I'm telling you, this is one of those debates where the wrong answer could get you eaten first. And listen, if you've been following my breakdowns of Alien Earth since episode 1, you know we've been circling this kind of moment, that reveal that flips the board and says everything you thought you understood about survival is wrong. Which is why if you haven't subscribed yet, seriously, what are you doing? Join the channel, hit subscribe right now, because these breakdowns are only going to get deeper, darker, and way more tangled once we start pulling at the season 2 threads. But let's get back to the finale, because the plant wasn't just a one-off scare, it was a message. Here's the question nobody's asking, but everybody should: was the D Plumbicare really just one more creature in the lineup, or was it the quiet blueprint for everything else in this show? Because the more I compare it to the other species, the xenomorphs, the T Ocellus, the beetles, even species 19, the more I keep seeing echoes. And that's not an accident, that's a pattern. Think about it. The xenomorphs are brutal, but predictable. They stalk, they hunt, they strike. They're nature's perfect predator, sure, but they're loud about it. Then you've got the T Ocellus, arguably the creepiest of the bunch, a parasite that doesn't just kill, it replaces. It crawls into your body, takes your eye and says, this isn't you anymore, it's me. That's invasion on the deepest level, body, identity, soul. And then the beetles. Barely got screen time, but in those few minutes, they spat acid that melted Tootles into nothing. Think about that, one of the lost boys, dead not from a xenomorph, not from a hybrid, but from an insect. Blink and you miss it, but the message was clear: no matter how small, no species is harmless. And then the D Plumbicare sitting silently, harmless looking, almost background decoration, until it wasn't. And when it finally moved, it didn't just scare us, it reminded us that every species in Alien Die, Earth operates with one shared rule: survival through unpredictability. That's the thread tying them all together. But here's where I need to stop and say something I've been holding back. Doesn't it feel like the D, Plumbicare, was testing us? Testing the audience? Almost like the writers left it on screen early in the season, just long enough for us to log it in the back of our minds. Then they waited, episode after episode, distraction after distraction. And then, when we forgot, it pounced. That's not just creature design, that's storytelling as Predator. Now, here's where it gets even darker. Remember how Wendy was able to communicate with a xenomorph, bend it to her will, use it as a weapon? That changed the whole canon, because suddenly xenomorphs weren't just killers, they were manipulatable. But the D Plumbicare, no communication, no control, no bargaining, which begs the question, if Wendy tried, would it even listen? Or is it so alien that even hybrids can't touch it? And let's not forget that kill scene. Siberian wasn't just eaten, she was stalked. The plant tapped her shoulder like a predator playing with food, then swallowed her whole. And the show didn't even linger on it, didn't dramatize it. It almost shrugged like, yeah, another soldier gone. That subtlety is more terrifying than a full-on gorefest, because it forces you to sit there and realize this thing could have been in the room the entire time and no one noticed. So let's run a hypothetical. What if the D, Plumbicare, isn't a side creature? What if it's the main event of Season 2? Imagine this: Wendy thinks she can lead the hybrids, thinks she can weaponize the xenomorphs. Boy Cavalier thinks he can manipulate alien biology for profit. But while they're busy fighting each other, the D Plumbicare is spreading, quietly, invisibly. What if it's not a monster, but an infection? A creeping invasion that doesn't need to roar, doesn't need to fight. Because by the time you notice, it's already too late. Here's where I'll throw it to you: which alien species did you find the most unsettling? Was it the obvious horror of the xenomorphs, the body-jacking nightmare of the T Ocellus, or the stealthy dread of the plant monster? Drop your answer in the comments, because I think the fandom's divided, and I want to see which side you're on. And before I reveal why the D, Plumbicare, might actually be the key to understanding all of Alien Earth's bigger themes, I need to say this once and only once: if you're this deep into the breakdown and you're not subscribed to James Roxer BRBWM, you're literally missing half the fun. Because this is where we go into the secrets nobody else is talking about, the forbidden knowledge buried between the frames. Subscribe now, let's go even deeper. Because if you thought the finale answered what the plant monster was, you'd be wrong. The truth is, we've only seen the beginning of what it really means. And the implications. They might change everything you thought you knew about the Alien franchise. Here's the revelation that's been hiding in plain sight: the D, Plumbicare, isn't just another alien. It's a mirror. Not a mirror for the hybrids, not even for the xenomorphs. It's a mirror for us. Because the way it behaved in the finale says everything about humanity's greatest blind spot. We never notice the danger until it's already wrapped around us. Think about it. Humanity saw hybrids and tried to weaponize them. Humanity saw xenomorphs and thought, profit, power, military advantage. But the D Plumbicare, we didn't see it at all. It sat there breathing with the walls, ignored because it didn't fit our definition of a threat. And then it acted. That's the forbidden knowledge the finale teased. What destroys us isn't the monster we fear, it's the one we dismiss. And here's where it gets chilling. Noah Hawley is too smart to add a random plant monster just for shock value. His writing always hides the long game. In Legion, he used reality-breaking visuals to warn us about identity. In Fargo, he turned crime dramas into meditations on fate. In Alien Earth, he's doing something bigger. He's telling us the xenomorphs aren't the top of the food chain anymore. The hierarchy we've accepted for decades, that the alien is the ultimate predator, is about to collapse. So here's the theory: the D, Plumbicare, is evolution itself. Not just a species, but the next step in the alien methods. It doesn't hunt with brute force like the xenomorph. It doesn't parasitize like the T Ocellus. It waits. It adapts. It studies. And then, when the time is right, it moves. That's scarier than anything we've seen, because it's not driven by instinct, it's driven by patience. Now, let's play this out for Season 2. Imagine Wendy marching her army of hybrids, believing she's in control. Imagine Cavalier doubling down on his arrogance, thinking he can patent alien DNA like it's just another business deal. And then imagine, in the background, the walls themselves start to move, the plants start to shift, and one by one, characters vanish, not ripped apart, not exploded from the chest, but consumed, quietly, effortlessly. Season 2 could be the moment we realize the hybrids, the humans, the xenomorphs, they're all prey now. But here's the even bigger twist: what if the D Plumbicare isn't native to Earth? What if it's the connective tissue between the engineers, the predators, and the xenomorphs themselves? Look closely at its design. It's not just plant-like, it's biomechanical, organic yet structured, almost as if it's part of the same genetic puzzle that Ridley Scott teased in Prometheus. What if it's the missing piece? the species that ties the alien universe together, the root system under the entire franchise. I'll go one step further. What if the D, Plumbicare, isn't meant to be a monster at all? What if it's a test, a probe, a guardian planted by something bigger than the engineers, lying dormant until humanity oversteps its boundary? And the second Cavalier brought alien life to Earth, that boundary was crossed. Which means the plant didn't just attack randomly, it activated. This is the secret most people missed. The finale didn't show the D. Plumbicare's power as a one-off scare, it showed the awakening of a system, like the first domino in a chain reaction. And Season 2 won't just be about hybrids vs humans, it will be about the environment itself turning against us. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think the plant monster is the real villain of Alien Earth, or just a side piece to make the xenomorphs scarier? Drop your theories in the comments, because this debate might decide how we interpret Season 2 when it finally lands. And let me leave you with this thought: every alien story has warned us about arrogance, about believing we can control what was never ours to command. In the original film, it was the company underestimating the xenomorph. In Prometheus, it was humanity underestimating the engineers. And in Alien Earth, it might be us underestimating the plant we never noticed until it reached out and touched us. So when the walls start moving in Season 2, remember this breakdown. Because by then, it won't just be fiction, it'll feel like prophecy.